All right, hello, welcome to Tech Teacher Support. I'm Chris, and today we're going to be continuing with our distance learning toolbox. And these are software, hardware, things you can do to prepare for distance learning in the fall. And we are going to be talking today about your home network. This is Home Network 101. We're going to be talking about a handful of things you can see over here on the side. And then we'll go more in depth on each of these things in subsequent videos. But today, kind of wanted to talk a little bit about your home network, how to identify how it's working, and talk about how you can improve it and speed it up, especially with fall coming and all of the video conferencing and distance learning and videos and everything we're going to be doing. So let's just get started. I'm going to use the bullet points over here on the side and we'll go right down. And I have some equipment here and some things to show you, and just so we can make sure that your home network is working as best as possible. And so as you see, number one, our home networks, Wi-Fi, right? They support a ton of devices and do more than ever now. So before, your home network was just basically for your laptop or your phone to get on the internet. Now your home network is an integral piece of your home security. Those of you who have Ring video doorbells or security lights outside that are internet connected, you may have an internet connected thermostat, internet connected lights, right? An Amazon Echo, Google Assistant, some sort of internet connected assistant. A lot of us have smart TVs now that you use to do Netflix or Hulu, and they talk to the internet as well. We all have cell phones, iPads, laptops. You get the point. So if you're even just by yourself, you have a number of devices that use your network. But if you are a teacher who has a family, you probably have 3-4 people who are using a ton of different devices on your network, especially when you're trying to do distance learning, do some video conferencing, things like that. So our home network is more important than ever. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can identify what your home network is running at right now, how it's doing, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to test your speeds and some prices and what all that means. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how you can upgrade your home network. So if it's not sufficient for what you're doing, if you find that things just aren't working, we can talk about how you can increase your speed, or it may be you need some better hardware. We'll talk about that too. I have some examples over here. And then we're going to get into a little bit at the end what a mesh network is. Those are very popular right now, and it's what I would suggest if you are just starting your home network or looking to upgrade it or replace it. And we'll talk a little bit about a mesh network at the end. So I'm going to flip over to the computer screen, and we're going to go into number 2 there, which is identify your current access. So we've established on number 1 that we have a ton of devices at home. I'm going to pop over to the screen here, and just to prove a point, I want to bring up my home here, and here's my home network. These are all my devices, and I use what's called a ERO, E-E-R-O. That's a mesh network. We'll talk more about that, but that's my Wi-Fi for my house. So if we start to look through my list here, and let me kind of point out on the screen where we're at. I'm looking over here on the side. This is an app that connects to my Wi-Fi at home, and it shows me all the different devices that I have. And I counted 21 different devices. And so all of those devices are using my internet essentially at the same time. So even though you think you may have a fast internet connection, once we start to add up all your devices, you may realize that you have a rather inadequate connection for all of the internet that you need. So if we look through here, I have my computer, my phone, my wife's laptop, iPad, my laptop, my phone. We have the PC that's running the stream. I have our doorbell camera, our thermostat, some lights in here that are internet connected, my Apple Watch. So as you can see, today's home network has to keep track of a lot of devices. So the faster your network is, the better, because you need to split it up for a bunch of devices. And that means a lot if you're a teacher and you're at home and you're trying to do a Google Meet call or interact with one of your students over video, and you have 19 other devices in your house or other children of your own who are learning at home, that internet gets sucked up pretty quick. So it's important to know how much internet you're using and where it's all going and coming from. So there's just sort of an insight into a modern home. It's not just laptops and phones. It's now our doorbells and our thermostats and our lights. Those are all using part of your internet. So there you go. So number two, I say identify your current access. And I've made a helpful little document here that we're going to go through, and I'll put this linked below so you can go through this on your own. And this helps you just sort of understand where your internet's coming from, what you're paying, how much you're getting. That way you can make informed decisions about getting more faster internet or switching ISP providers, internet providers. This will help you sort of form a baseline of where you're at right now. So right up here, we're going to start at the top, and we're going to fill in what is your ISP, and that is your internet service provider. And that is the company that you pay to provide you with your internet connection. Now, in 2020, a lot of the companies that provide us our internet are cable companies. They also provide us our television, and that's all through a cable. You'll also, some of you who live in more rural areas might use DirecTV or Dish, which are satellite companies, to provide your internet. And those of you who live way off the grid may still use DSL, which is like a phone line. But either way, someone provides you with internet and you pay them. So take a second to figure out who that is. I've listed some up here that are very popular. Here in Central Ohio, we have WOW, which stands for Wide Open West. They're an internet service provider that's very popular. Of course, we have Verizon. Not only does Verizon do cell phones, but they also provide television and internet access, at least here in Central Ohio. Spectrum Cable used to be Time Warner. That is a very popular company, internet service provider that will run a cable to your house and give you internet. And then, of course, AT&T, and it goes on and on. Depending on where you live, your choices are going to be very different. In fact, even here in Columbus, whether you're in the north suburbs or the south suburbs, east or west, your choices and speeds available are also very different. And that's just because the internet all relies on a series of cables, whether that's fiber optic or coax or phone line. And so the cables running in my neighborhood may be better or worse than the cables running in your neighborhood. And it's a perpetual upgrade. Just here in Columbus, we have 2 million people. Somewhere in Columbus, they're upgrading the lines, and that'll just happen throughout time. So there will be areas of the city that have different providers, different speeds. So I'm going to change this. My ISP is WOW, so I'm going to type that in. All right. Let me highlight this so you can see it. Okay, now, WOW gives me internet, and I pay them for a certain speed. All right, and you see this word right here, Mbps. That is the, stands for megabits per second, but that is the measurement that they measure the speed of internet by. So essentially how many millions of bits can come into your house and leave your house. Anyways, every ISP and everywhere you see is going to measure their speed by megabits per second. Okay, so now is when you look at your bill or you log on to your account and you figure out what is the agreed upon speed that you're paying for. Now I'm going to pop over here to the internet and I'm going to pull up, I knew it would do that. I'm going to pull up, for example, Spectrum. So this is Spectrum internet, And as you can see, they are charging $49.99 a month for up to 200 megabits of speed. Okay? And so we're going to need to know what that speed is that you're paying for. We're also going to need to know the price here in a little bit. But as you can see, for example, if you start to bundle your TV with it, or if you still weirdly use a phone, home phone, instead of a cell phone, you can start to bundle those things together. But most of us are probably just going to pay for the internet because we use Netflix or Hulu to get our TV. So we also don't get TV on top of that. I'm going to go over here. Here is Verizon. Verizon has speeds up to 940 megabits. Here we go over at WOW. WOW is saying $39.99 a month for 100 megabits. So as you can see already in my neighborhood, there are 3 companies and different prices and different speeds. So figure out what you're paying for. That way it's easy to compare when you want to upgrade. So right here, my promised download speed for my house is 950 megabits. Essentially, because I run a lot of computers and systems here, that's what I have. But let's talk about what your average person has. And let's use what this is trying to sell us here, which is $49.99 a month for 200 megabits. So let's use that as our example. Okay, so go ahead and figure out what you have. Type that in here. Next, I have promised upload speed. One thing you will notice is that none of these companies are telling you what your upload speed is. These are all download speeds. And the reason that matters today more than it really ever has is because of video conferencing. Before, download speeds only mattered because you're always downloading, whether it be Netflix or your homework or YouTube videos. That's all coming down into your computer. But when we start doing video conferencing, we're taking our video image and sending it back up to all of the people that are on the server with our video conference. So your upload speed tends to be, by far, really important, especially now in distance learning when we are doing a ton of video conferencing and video work and making videos and sending them around. So while it hasn't mattered in years past as much, your upload speed for distance learning is super important, especially if you do video conferencing. If your school doesn't do a lot of Google Meet or Zoom or stuff, you don't have to worry as much about that. But the promised upload speed for that connection, when you dig through and you go 40 pages deep, I won't waste your time, is 10 megabits per second. So it's called 200 down, 10 up. That's kind of the lingo they'll use. And 10 megabits is your general speed. That's fine for pretty much anything. And if you were the only person home video conferencing, you could get away with that. Okay, this next line here, price per month. And again, just separate out what you're paying for internet. If you have it all bundled in, see if you can take your bill and sort of separate out just the internet part. But don't forget to add in the taxes and fees. You know, right here, $49.99 a month. But we know what this asterisk means. That means there's fees and taxes and surcharges and, you know, whatever. So it's not $49.99. It's probably more like $58 or $61, right? When you really get down to it. So I want take your bill and figure out what that internet is just for the internet and make sure you add in those fees and figure that out. So say we're looking at, you know, $58.50. All right, we should use a $sign here. Okay, and actually right here then is how you figure out your price per megabit. And this is going to be your sort of comparative number, your constant here. This is the number that you want to figure out. So when you want to get better speeds or work with a different ISP, you can see what you're paying. And this is as simple as a division here. You're going to take your price divided by your megabits. So again, that would be 58.50 divided by your megabits. All right, let's bring up our calculator here. So we have 5850 divided by 200. You're paying about 30 cents per megabit, right? So if you took 200 megabits times 30 cents, you'd be paying 58.50. Okay, so that's important because when you go and you say, you know, I'm paying a lot of money for not very much internet. I got a flyer in the mail for WOW that offers much faster internet for less money. And so you can start to compare when you know how much you pay. And this is just an easy way to figure out what you're paying per megabit. All right. Now comes how you figure out how much bandwidth you're using per device. So you take the number of devices, and again, we looked, for example, here I have, 19 devices. Your average house has around 12 devices. So you take your number of devices, I have 19 of them, and so then you take your 200 megabits and you divide it by your 19 devices, right? And what does that equal? Let's do that up here again. So we have 200 divided by 19, and again you're looking did I do that wrong? 200 divided by 19 is 10.5. So you're equal about 10.5 megabit per device. All right. So that's pretty decent as long as everyone in the house doesn't get on at once. So that's a little bit how you figure out what you're paying and what you're doing. Now, there's a little bit of a difference between what your ISP says you get, 200 megabits, and what you're actually getting. And that's right there on number 4. We are going to figure out what you actually are getting. And a lot of you have heard of doing a speed test. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a speed test. And the website I like to use is fast.com. So let me pull that up. And I'm going to type in fast.com. And let me zoom up on this for you. It's just the word fast.com. And the reason I use fast.com is there's a number of reasons. But number one, it's not an app that you have to download, and it's not run through a company that's trying to sell you advertisements. So fast.com is powered by Netflix. It is their speed tool that they use with their customers, and it's just widely available to anyone who wants to use it. It is consistent, so you can use it on your phone, your iPad, your laptop, whatever. And I'm going to show you in a second, this button, Show More Info, is going to give you some very helpful information you need as well. But let's say I was paying for 500 megabits, but I'm only getting 330. That may be for a couple of reasons. There may be other people in the house doing work right now that are using the bandwidth. There may be, your doorbell and your thermostat are using your bandwidth right now. So you probably will not get all 500, but you'll get close, hopefully. If you're paying for 500 and this were to say, 20, you'd have a big problem. But make sure that this fast.com tells you the speed that you're paying for. And if it's really off, then you can talk to your ISP and say, hey, I'm only getting 100 even though I'm paying for 500. What's going on here? But I use fast.com everywhere all the time because I feel like it is the most authentic speed test tool. So again, it's really easy to remember, fast.com. And the cool thing here is I'm going to show you, if you look at the screen, this is the retest button. You can hit that to retest. But right here is this Show More Info. And I'm going to click on that. And it gives me 2 pieces of information that are kind of important to me, especially if you're doing a lot of video conferencing. You have your latency, which is how much of a delay there is, which is milliseconds, so don't worry about that. But then you have your upload speed, and this is the speed that information can get up out of my house. And especially when you want to do video conferencing, you want to have at least 10. Most video services prefer at least 6 megabits up. So if you have 10, you have a good cushion there. And we're running at 20, so that is perfect. So again, fast.com, I can hit this button again. It'll retest it again for me. And if you pay for 500, you should be getting close-ish to 500. Again, I'm running a lot of systems right now, so this is fine. This is perfect. You want to make sure it's close. Okay, so I'm going to close out these tabs here. And we got Verizon, Spectrum. Okay. Now we're going to look over to the side. We are on number 5, upgrade your current access. Okay, so you found out that your internet is too slow, your devices all can't work at the same time, you're trying to distance teach, your Wi-Fi connection is really janky, you keep cutting out. There's 2 things you can do. Number 1 is you can get faster internet. So you can pay those companies, Wow, Spectrum, Verizon, to get a faster speed. So if you are sitting at 50 megabit, you could pay for 100. If you're at 100, you could pay for 200. You get the point. You can just pay more money to get faster internet. But that's when you might want to shop around a little bit. You may be able to call up Verizon and say, hey, I have Spectrum right now, but I'd like to get a faster speed for a better price. What can you do for me? And we know that all those companies have secret deals, and if you can make it to the manager and say the right words that you're going to leave the company if they don't lower your price, all of a sudden your price gets lowered. So unfortunately, that's how they work. They aren't very upfront about their pricing, but that means you can sort of negotiate with them a little bit. So right there, number 5, upgrade your current access. The one way to do it is to just get faster speeds. But number 2, what may be happening is you pay for 500 megabit, but your home equipment is actually what's holding you back. And I have right here, you can see this is a funnel. And a lot of times you may have a lot of internet coming into your house, but then your Wi-Fi system in your house is the funnel, and it's only letting a little bit through to your computer. So even if you were to pay for more internet, you're still putting it through the funnel, which is your home equipment, and it's not taking full advantage of all of the internet you pay for. So you don't want to funnel your internet by having bad equipment. So let me show you real quick. Again, we're going to talk about number 6 there, higher speeds, better Wi-Fi access. So again, this could be its own video, so I'm going to go through this a little quick. But when the internet comes into your house, it comes into a device like this. And you know what? Let's get on the big screen. That should be better. Okay, when the internet comes into your house, right here you can see is the cable. This is what's called a gateway. And this takes the pulses of electricity from the cable and turns it into internet, for lack of a longer, complex explanation. And this is my gateway. The gateway is provided to you by your ISP. So this was given to me by Wow or Verizon or AT&T. You can't change this. This is what they're providing to you. They should be providing you a gateway that can handle the internet that they're selling you. So if they're selling you 500 megabit, this should not be the funnel. If this is the funnel, well then that's their problem. They should be providing you with what's called a gateway or a modem that can accept all of the internet you're paying for. Okay. But then what do you do? From the gateway, you got to get the internet into your house. And a lot of people use this. You've seen this before. This is a Wi-Fi system right here. This is a Wi-Fi router. It has its 3 antennas up here. And what will happen is then your gateway will connect to this, And this will broadcast internet through your house. All right, that's as technical as we're going to get. This is the funnel. This is usually your funnel. You got a whole bunch of internet coming into this thing, but then this is using an old standard, is using old speeds, is not able to support the 19 people that you have at home. This is usually the funnel. So a lot of times at your home, you can check out your Wi-Fi equipment and make sure that it is providing the speeds that you need it to provide. And again, that can be its own video, but this is usually your, your funnel here. It's a bad Wi-Fi system. So the best thing you can do to upgrade your Wi-Fi system would be to invest in a newer Wi-Fi router, or go the sort of next route, which is a mesh Wi-Fi system. And that's number 7 there, and number 8. A mesh Wi-Fi system is a series of pods. Now here's an Eero pod. And you plug these pods in to all the rooms of your house, and they form sort of a blanket of Wi-Fi for your house. Okay? And the reason that's a little bit better is because instead of one unit here that may be in the basement, or it's sort of tied to wherever, this thing is sort of tied to wherever the internet comes into your house, and we don't have a lot of control over that, whether that's in the attic or the basement or the side bedroom, whatever that may be. With a mesh network, you're going to be able to plug these in all over your house and get internet sort of blanketed on your house. And whether you like to go outside or sit on the patio and do your distance learning, whatever that may be, a mesh network is going to provide all of your devices a really fast speed. And the cool part is you can manage them all. And that's my final point right here. I'm going to pull my screen back up, and let's see if we can't go over to this. All right, so again, because I'm running a mesh network system, I have a connected app, and this app lets me see 2 things: who's connected to the network and how much bandwidth they're using. And then from there, I can block, pause, limit bandwidth so that me, the teacher, who's trying to do a live stream and do some distance learning, can have priority, and the other devices in my house can be second fiddle for a while. So having that control and insight into your network, instead of just a random black box that's kind of providing some internet, but you're not really sure how much and where it's going, a mesh network is going to provide you a much better experience when you're working from home with multiple devices. So that was a lot. I'm going to take all of these and make them their own separate videos, but I kind of wanted just one spot with all my thoughts and some sort of insight into how all this works. So let me flip back over here. All right, so thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, make sure to put them in the comments below. You can always find us at TechTeacherSup on Twitter. And if you want more advice on your internet service provider, or the speeds you're getting, or mesh networks, or how your Wi-Fi is working, just let us know. We'd love to make a video and help you out. And I want to make sure that you understand all this. So if there's something that I went too fast or didn't make sense, just let me know and we'll make a new video. So, all right, thanks again for joining and watching. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. I will be back with some more videos, and I will see you later. All right, bye.